Mr. The Prequels presents The Prequels. And I'm going to establish my position right off the bat. The prequels are a masterpiece. That's my position. That's my take. That's how I read it. That's how I engage with these movies. The prequels are... The prequel trilogy is the best Star Wars that there is. And that's it, over and out. Period. If you feel differently about this, and I do, maybe you don't think the same way I think, maybe you don't think the prequels is the best Star Wars. And that's a matter of your opinion. And that's fine. And maybe you are saying now, as you watch this or listen to this, yeah, but objectively, the prequels are bad movies. And that might be, according to a standard that you hold, and objectively that may be so. However now, also true is that some people like some stuff that other people don't like. And that means that by another standard, these things are objectively not bad, or they might even be objectively good. So in other words, it depends on what universe you're from. And this is not to say you have your facts and I have mine. That is not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is the creator, George Lucas, had a vision, and he has a vision for what he wants the story to be and look like. And it looks like Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And that's the most George Lucas Star Wars you will ever see on the screen so far. Unless George returns to Star Wars, which is highly unlikely. I seriously doubt that. So, The Phantom Menace, why is this the best Star Wars? Well, I'll tell you why it's the best Star Wars. Because it's the most George Star Wars. The Star Wars that I grew up with in 1977, beginning in 1977, was the best thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. I'd never seen anything like that. It was like cotton candy on the screen, and I couldn't get enough of it. And then we went out and we bought all the action figures, the toys, the dolls, you know, the land speeders, and I couldn't get a land speeder, so I made my own out of wood. Made this little land speeder out of wood, and I chiseled it out so that there would be a location, a seating location there for Luke Skywalker to sit in that land speeder. I'll edit that part out. The most George. Okay, that brings me back on topic here. Star Wars in 1977 was more George Lucas than anyone had ever seen. We had seen American Graffiti, but there was nothing like that ever that anyone had ever seen up to that time when Star Wars came out. No one knew what to expect. I thought I was seeing a movie about a giant wearing a black suit that was bigger than a planet. That's what I thought I was going to watch at first. I didn't know what I was going to see. And when I saw that opening shot of the Imperial cruiser chasing that rebel cruiser across the screen from right to left, and then to see Darth Vader walk through that background, that white background, and he was wearing all black. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. The best word I had for it in those days was neato. Neato, man. I just had never seen anything like that. George Lucas changed the world in 1977. And then, in 1999, he changed the world again. When The Phantom Menace came out, nobody knew what to expect. They all thought they knew what they were going to see. They all thought they knew what they wanted. I knew what I wanted. And when I saw that movie on the screen in 1999, after I first watched Star Wars in 77 at age 10, and then Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi, I think in 83. But by that time, I was in high school and I'd somewhat grown out of the child fantasy of actually being these characters. But I still love Star Wars, and I've always been a Star Wars fan, but I was not any longer 10 years old. And then The Phantom Menace came out. I was 32 years old. Do the math, figured out. I had 2 kids, 6-year-old, 3-year-old. I took my 3-year-old to go see Star Wars The Phantom Menace. I took my 6-year-old. They happened to love the movie. They themselves became Star Wars fans, if you will. But when I saw The Phantom Menace in 1999, it was like I was a 10-year-old kid again. And it was not anything that I had even seen before. Again, a second time this happened in 1999. And it was a shock to the system culturally, in the industry. Culturally, in our society, it has changed everything. From Jar Jar Binks to Bones to anything, you name it, it's all changed. Because of Star Wars, because of the prequels. And Jar Jar is really, truly the key. So, when I saw that movie again, and I saw Star Wars again after 20 years or so, in theaters, and 15 years, and then next thing you know, I felt like a 10-year-old kid again. And then, when the movie came out, and then I saw the Attack of the Clones, and then Revenge of the Sith, and my kids grew up with those movies. And then when The Phantom Menace came out again, this month, in May 2024, I hadn't seen it for 25 years on the big screen or in a theater. And I had only been watching it on VHS and my phone and laptop and the screens at home, television, streaming. I was ready to watch it and I was excited. But when I saw it, I was not prepared for what I encountered. It was like I was 10 years old again. I was 10 years old again in that theater watching Star Wars, the real Star Wars, the George Lucas vision, the one that's for kids and the one that is funny and fun and just a lot of fun, thrills, exciting. It's not supposed to be scary. It's not supposed to give people nightmares. It is serious. It is a lot of fun. They combine seriousness with having fun. Jar Jar with Anakin. The droid army battle versus the Gungans. It looks very much rated G. But if you look out on the big screen, you see that there are a lot of dead Gungans on the ground, and Jar Jar is right in the center of it. So, of course, tonally, it's conflicted, chaotic. You go from something that's supposed to be very serious and dramatic to Jar Jar Binks running all over the place, acting like Roger Rabbit. And it is what it is. That's what the creator wanted. Some people don't like it. Some people love it. You may not like it. I love it. You may not have wanted it that way. George wanted it that way. You may say that it's objectively a bad movie because you have your standards, your metric, but didn't meet these standards. I have my standards. It met these standards. Corny, funny, for all ages, serious themes. I can handle that. Now, to continue, and this is only part 1 of this, the reason Star Wars is the best Star Wars, the prequels is the best Star Wars, is because it's the most George Star Wars, starting with The Phantom Menace. Starting with the opening title crawl. Turmoil, the first word in this movie. The first line in this movie after the title of the episode. Turmoil. And then the final line of the movie, peace. This is literally a movie of epic proportions. A tale of war and peace. Turmoil and peace, if you will. All the classic characters on the big screen. Ahmed Best looks better than ever as Jar Jar Binks. George Lucas, now you can see a lot of bloopers on the screen when you watch it on the big screen. They're a little more easily picked out. And then when you watch the movie again, as I did, 6 times in 10 days, on the big screen. Not only does this movie hold up, it is real, it is authentic, it is not Hollywood, but it is nonetheless a Hollywood epic. I would say top 100 of all movies ever made in the history of movie making, and I would say George Lucas is one of the most influential people of all time, especially in the past century, the 20th century, and moving forward into the 21st century, no doubt, with his work from the 20th century, but also a great American and top 10 movie directors of all time. Guaranteed, it has to be that way. The Phantom Menace should have won an Oscar in every category. Possibly they need to invent a new category for Best Picture, as in Best Picture that's totally unlike any movie you've ever seen. That would be The Phantom Menace. What a beautiful picture. What a beautiful story. Lights, camera, action. See it on the big screen again. Star Wars is a beautiful story. George Lucas is the creator, and we give all thanks and praise to George for his creation that he gave to us. And now it's our responsibility to take care of this creation and to keep the truth, and that is that the teaching and the writing and the presentation and the production of this movie is all of that now. It's in many ways a religion and goes beyond cultural lines, even in outer space. Some of the ideas that they have had now are based on concepts that George presented in his movies, Star Wars. But The Phantom Menace is beyond anything you've ever seen. Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith, possibly the best Star Wars movie ever made. My favorite, maybe. It's tough. The Phantom Menace might be my favorite. I don't say that it's the best Star Wars movie ever made. Revenge of the Sith and The Phantom Menace are right up there. I love Attack of the Clones. I just love the prequels. And that's it for today, friends. That's all the time we have. Remember, my friends, your focus determines your reality. And may the Force be with us.